Iran believed it had discovered the perfect strategy, not one built on military superiority, not one relying on naval dominance, air power, or the kind of conventional force capable of matching American carrier strike groups in the Gulf. No, Iran's plan was rooted in mathematics, cheap mathematics, the kind that does not require winning battles to win wars. Send swarms of Shahed drones at American bases in Saudi Arabia. Each drone costs $35,000 to build. Some cost even less. Meanwhile, the interceptor missiles the United States uses to shoot them down cost over $1 million each. Iran does not need to destroy anything critical. It only needs to keep sending drones until Washington's defense budget bleeds faster than its political will can sustain the operation. It was clever. It was working. The attacks on Prince Sultan Air Base had already damaged an E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft, destroyed aerial refueling tankers worth tens of millions of dollars, injured American service members, and racked up $1.3 billion in material damage. The math was running in Tehran's favor, until the Pentagon made a call that changed every calculation Iran had made. They called Ukraine. What Ukraine installed at Prince Sultan Air Base is not a new missile system. It is not a new radar. It is something far more consequential. It is a command and control platform so advanced, so precisely tailored to the exact threat Iran is deploying, that the strategy Tehran thought was bulletproof has now been turned against it. Iran's drones are flying into a shield they cannot see, cannot jam, cannot overwhelm, and cannot defeat. And the country that built that shield learned how to do it by spending 4 years being attacked by the exact same weapons. What Ukraine deployed in Saudi Arabia is not just a story about a single base. It is a story about the future of warfare, the transformation of alliances, and the evolution of a nation that 4 years ago was begging for ammunition into the most valuable defense technology partner the United States has in this conflict. To understand why SkyMap changes everything, you need to understand the specific problem it was built to solve and why no existing American system could solve it. Prince Sultan Air Base, located approximately 640 kilometers from the Iranian border in the Saudi Arabian interior, is not just another forward operating base. It is the central nervous system of American air operations across the Middle East theater. CENTCOM manages its regional air campaigns from here. E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft, airborne radar platforms, providing battlefield awareness and coordination for every other aircraft in the theater, operate from this base. Boeing KC-135 Stratotanker refueling aircraft extend the range and endurance of fighter jets and bombers throughout the operational area. F-35 fighter jets are stationed here. The logistical and command infrastructure that makes Operation Epic Fury function as a coherent military campaign rather than a series of disconnected sorties is all here. Iran understood this. That is why Prince Sultan became a priority target. The March 13th attack struck 5 U.S. Air Force refueling aircraft. Take out the tankers, and fighters and bombers cannot maintain the operational tempo that a sustained campaign requires. The March 27th attack went further. Iranian missiles and drones damaged an E-3 Sentry AWACS airframe. 10 American service members were injured seriously. These were not random strikes at symbolic targets. They were precise attacks on the specific systems that make American air power in the region function. Remove the AWACS, and Washington loses the real-time aerial battlefield picture coordinating strike packages. Remove the tankers, and aircraft are limited to shorter-range sorties from closer bases. Iran was not trying to win a battle. It was attempting to degrade the infrastructure of American air dominance, one expensive platform at a time. The cost calculus made the strategy sustainable from Tehran's perspective. A Shahed drone costs $35,000. Some cost as little as $20,000. A single interceptor missile costs over $1 million. Iran sends 12 drones at a cost of $420,000. The United States shoots them down at a cost of $12 million. Even if every drone is intercepted and nothing gets through, Iran is extracting a 30-to-1 economic return on every attack. This is the math that Tehran believed would eventually break American political will, drain precision interceptor inventories, and force Congress to confront the cost-per-kill ratio, creating pressure to find an exit before the financial hemorrhage became unsustainable. The United States needed a different answer, not a better missile, a completely different approach to the problem itself. On April 22nd, Reuters reported that 5 separate unnamed sources close to the Pentagon had confirmed the deployment. The system is called SkyMap. It is Ukrainian, and it had been secretly installed at Prince Sultan Air Base immediately after the attacks that forced the Pentagon to admit its existing defenses were inadequate against the specific threat Iran was deploying. SkyMap is not a weapon. It is not a radar. It is not a drone or missile or any of the physical systems that conventional thinking associates with air defense. SkyMap is a command and control platform, a digital nervous system that integrates every sensor, every detection asset, and every interceptor capability at a base into a single unified operational picture. It allows commanders to see everything, identify everything, and respond to everything with precision and speed no previous system at Prince Sultan could match. The company behind it, Skyfortress, was founded in 2022 by Ukrainian engineers with direct links to Ukraine's military. They were not building a theoretical system to solve a theoretical problem. They were building a practical system to solve an immediate existential crisis. Russia was attacking Ukrainian cities and military installations with Shahed-type drones from the very first day of the full-scale invasion. The engineers building SkyMap were doing so while the threat they were designing against was actively killing their fellow citizens. That origin matters. It is why SkyMap works in ways American systems developed in peacetime for different threat environments cannot fully replicate. In operational terms, SkyMap pulls inputs from acoustic sensors, radars, and live video feeds from Ukraine's own surveillance drones into a single integrated digital interface, creating a real-time picture of the entire aerial battlefield. The acoustic sensor network, initially about 10,000 units deployed across Ukraine and since expanded, captures the engine noise signatures of incoming drones at distances and altitudes where radar coverage is incomplete or absent. The critical innovation is not what happens after detection. SkyMap does not simply alert operators that something is coming, it identifies what is coming. This distinction is the difference between the old mathematics and the new mathematics. Under the old system, an alarm triggers and the response is automatic. Interceptor fires. Expensive missile destroys cheap drone. The cost ratio runs in Iran's favor. Under SkyMap, identification happens first. Is this an incoming Shahed drone costing $35,000 or an Iranian ballistic missile orders of magnitude higher in cost? The answer determines which response asset is appropriate. You do not waste $1 million interceptor on a $35,000 drone. You do not deploy a cheap interceptor against a ballistic missile requiring a Patriot battery. Resource management at this precision is only possible with real-time identification. SkyMap provides that. Before SkyMap, Prince Sultan relied on the Forward Area Air Defense System, FAAD, developed by Northrop Grumman in the 1990s. FAAD could detect incoming threats, but it was designed for mortars and rockets, not swarms of autonomous, one-way attack drones flying low-altitude profiles engineered to evade radar. FAAD was not obsolete. It was built for a different environment. SkyMap was built precisely for the threat environment of 2026 at Prince Sultan. The Pentagon did not merely upgrade its air defense. It replaced the entire command and control architecture with one purpose built for the exact threat it was facing, built by people who had been living inside that threat for 4 years. The math now runs the other way. Ukraine's battlefield experience with Shahed-type drones produced more than SkyMap. It produced a family of interceptor drones costing as little as $1,000 per unit. $1,000 against a Shahed costing $35,000 compared to interceptor missiles previously costing over $1 million each. The cost ratio that Iran built its strategy around has been inverted completely. Iran sends 12 drones at $420,000. Under the old system, the United States spent $12 million to shoot them down. Under the new system, guided by SkyMap's real-time identification and queuing, cheap interceptor drones handle the Shahed threat at a fraction of the previous cost, while expensive interceptor missiles are preserved for threats that actually require them. The Department of Defense announced on April 6th that Joint Interagency Task Force 401 had committed more than $600 million to counter-drone programs. $350 million of that was already allocated during the first month of Operation Epic Fury, precisely when Iran's attacks on Prince Sultan demonstrated the inadequacy of existing defenses. The investment went directly toward the capability shift SkyMap enables. Additionally, the United States invested over $5 billion in September 2025 in a contract with Raytheon for Coyote interceptor drones through 2033. A single Coyote cost approximately $125,000, not as cheap as Ukraine's $1,000 interceptors, but capable of handling both aerial and maritime drone threats, and dramatically cheaper than the $1 million missiles that had been the primary response tool. Current production runs at about 100 Coyote drones per month, with capacity expansion planned to reach 40,000 units over the contract period. SkyMap integrates with a Coyote's acoustic sensors, radar coverage, and live surveillance feeds. Everything feeds into a single operational picture, allowing the right response to be deployed at the right moment against the right threat. Iran's mathematical strategy has been answered with better mathematics, and the answer came from the country that developed it while being attacked by the same weapons Iran is now deploying against American bases. The deployment of SkyMap at Prince Sultan carries implications beyond the immediate tactical picture. It reshapes strategic relationships across multiple theaters simultaneously. First, the relationship between Ukraine and the United States. Over the past year, this relationship was tested, creating genuine uncertainty in Kiev about how much Washington could be counted on. Clashes with the Trump administration over negotiating positions, the pace of weapons transfers, and conditions attached to various forms of support left Ukraine repeatedly needing to demonstrate its value. Ukraine's response was strategy, not resentment. And when Operation Epic Fury began, Ukraine was among the first nations to offer practical assistance. Interceptor drones, drone warfare experts deployed to the Gulf, and now SkyMap secretly installed at the most important American air base in the Middle East. Ukrainian technicians are training American personnel while drawing on 4 years of combat experience with the specific threat those American personnel face. This action demonstrates that Ukraine is a provider of capabilities the United States does not possess. The relationship is becoming genuinely reciprocal. Reciprocal relationships between democracies under existential pressure are more durable and strategically valuable than one-directional patron-client arrangements. Ukraine helps the United States defend its bases against Iranian drones. The United States maintains its support for Ukraine against Russian aggression. Both sides get something uniquely valuable. Behind the scenes, these partnerships are being institutionalized. On March 31st, Defense One reported that retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg joined the board of Power US, a Florida-based company created to acquire technology from and build relationships with Ukrainian drone manufacturers. This signals how networks of US-Ukraine defense cooperation are transitioning from emergency arrangements to permanent